Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mandy, the Handmade Homeschooler, and today I'm going to be talking about this book right here and how I use it. It's called Home Learning Year by Year, and it is by Rebecca Rupp. And this is a book that shows you what kids should know for each grade, broken down by subject, very, very detailed. So I'm going to show you how I use that book in my homeschool and my basic strategy behind planning out curriculum using this book. I've had it for a very long time. I've had it since the first year we've been homeschooling. It's a very well loved read book, and I'm going to show you how I take the concepts in here and apply it to our curriculum in school. If it's your first time here, I want to welcome you to my channel. Make sure that you hit the like and the subscribe button, and down below in the description box I have a link to our free Facebook group. There's also a link down there to try out IEW writing and grammar for free, and that link is also down below in the description box. That link will take you to the IEW website on my specific page, and you guys can download and try out Structure and Style and Fix It Grammar for free over there. So download those and hopefully you guys like them. So before everyone gets too confused, I kind of need to set up a couple of things here. So first, this book is a secular book. This is not really a Christian resource. So I have to really take the concepts in here and use them differently. And I'm going to show you how I do that. It's super easy, but it does require a little bit extra work or a couple extra steps, but it's well worth it. All right, so this book is from Amazon. I will link it down below. You guys can go check it out. I will post the link right down there. And this book goes from K through 12, I believe. No, I'm sorry, it's preschool through 12. So preschool I didn't really need because I was a preschool teacher. I'm pretty well versed in what preschoolers need to know. So we really started this in kindergarten with my youngest, and I have gone through this book I don't know how many times. I have worn this book out. So basically each chapter is a grade in here, starting with preschool. Okay, so here's grade 1, okay? So you have the grade here at the top of each new chapter page, and then it goes through with each heading, starting with language arts, and it will go through language arts, math, science, music, health, everything that you could possibly need for that school year, and you will have a heading for each of those. Now under the heading, you are going to have different things. So for language arts, you're going to have reading, books for teaching reading, early readers, websites, computer software, reading comprehension, phonics, because we're talking about young readers here, writing, listening and speaking skills, and it's going to go through all of these for each subject. Now, underneath those headings, you're going to have an even bigger expansion, and it's going to give you the concepts that the child needs to learn for those. So for example, under the writing heading for first grade, you have draw and write new stories, and then it gives an explanation. And it will give you sources for those. Printing uppercase and lowercase letters legibly using proper spacing. Writing words and sentences using proper spacing, capitalization, and punctuation. And then it will give you a description of that, and it will give you books to help teach those concepts. And it's going to go through all of these things. And you're going to see that for each and every subject, and each and every subject within that subject. Language arts is kind of the big one when we're talking about subjects within a subject, because language arts has spelling, writing, reading, phonics for young kids. There's just so many things within language arts. Language arts is kind of like an umbrella for all of those different subjects right there. So you're going to see a lot for language arts. The other subjects are not going to be nearly as large, but just know that going into it, which most homeschool parents typically know. So then you're going to have the same thing for math. So under the math heading, it's kind of the same thing, and it kind of gives you an overview at the beginning of what kids should be learning in first grade. Then it gives you text and programs. It gives you the different concepts. So they need to know tallies for counting, identifying positions from 1st through 12. You need to know place values for ones, tens, and hundreds, all of those things. And it will most of them will have some kind of brief explanation about this, and then it will give you a list of books that help teach those concepts. Now, because this is a secular book, I have to do things just a little bit differently, because some of these, especially in the science department, I'm not going to be giving my kids because we teach creation science. So a lot of the things dealing with evolution and things like that, we're not going to be using. We're going to be using creation science. So how do I take this, which is what kids typically learn within a grade, and relate it to our Christian homeschool? You can still use this book just like I do. What I do is I'll go through this at the beginning of the year before I buy curriculum, you know, maybe towards the end of the year when I'm thinking about curriculum and it's time to start getting serious about making that list. And what I'll do is I will actually make a list of the concepts that I want to teach from here. And then I will go through and kind of have a place where all these concepts are written down, maybe on my computer or a piece of paper. And then I look for Christian sources that teach the same thing. If I can find a Christian source that teaches astronomy versus using whatever science book they have in here, that's what I'm gonna go with. So let's say I wanted to teach astronomy for 10th grade. Well, Apologia has a book for that, so I'm going to use the Apologia book. So I'm still teaching the same concept, I'm just teaching it through a Christian worldview. I'm using a biblical worldview versus a secular worldview. You see how that works? It's really easy to do. It just requires that extra step of going through your trusted Christian homeschool resources, all the curriculum companies, and finding one that is the equivalent of that. You can do this, I promise. They have plenty of books. I've been able to do it since kindergarten with my youngest. I know that you can do it. I've been doing it too. And one of the other things that I want to mention too, this is just a guide. This is not a be-all, end-all. You have to use this book. You have to teach the things in this book. Or if your kids don't know these things by the end of the year, that they're behind, or you know, anything like that. That doesn't mean that. This is just meant as a guide for you to piece together curriculum. As somebody who's more eclectic with homeschooling curriculum, this is such a big help because it kind of gives me a guide to go by, you know, so I know what I want to teach for 10th grade history because I was able to kind of outline it from this book. So kind of like if you're writing a paper and you need an outline and you kind of like write that skeleton outline, this is kind of what that is. And then you go back in and fill in all the details with the books and things that you're going to use. That's how I use this. I use this kind of as a skeleton outline for all of the homeschool curriculum that I'm going to be purchasing. That doesn't mean that I don't buy any of the books in here, but typically I don't. I would say it's very rare if I buy any of the actual books listed in here. I use it so I can learn the concepts and then apply those concepts in a Christian way through a biblical lens. So this book is actually very helpful for homeschooling parents, especially if you're new to homeschooling and you need kind of like that extra guide, that extra help. This will provide that for you. And most of the time, my kids know everything that they're supposed to know at the end of the year. And kind of at the end of the year, what I'll do is I'll open up this book, I'll turn to the grade that they're in by the end of the year, and I'll just take my pencil and I will just kind of check off like, oh, I know he knows this, I know he knows fractions, I know he knows his number theory, I know we did plotting on a grid, you know, and I'll kind of go through all those. So like my book has a whole bunch of little pencil check marks in it, and that's just kind of a way for me to know like I'm kind of on track with what maybe the school system uses. And one of the reasons why I do that is because unlike a lot of states, my state does the end of year state testing, which is really annoying. So I want to make sure that they kind of learn the things that they need to know before they take that test. And this kind of helps me do that. It's just an extra hand to seeing what they need to know and things that might pop up on that test. And that way when they take it, they're not so stressed out by seeing new material. I don't think anything stresses my kids out more than seeing material they've never looked at on those tests, because other than the practice test, there's really no way of knowing what's on it. So I feel like this is a big help for us in figuring out some of the concepts that will probably be taught. But just know, if you are also Christian like I am, it's going to be pretty rare if you see any Christian sources in here. I have yet to really come across one. Maybe there is some and I just haven't seen it. But from the most part, what I've seen, this is a pretty secular book. So just keep that in mind if you are using this to help design your homeschool curriculum. But this is totally doable no matter what your beliefs are if you apply the concepts to the curriculum that you're wanting to purchase. So hopefully that makes sense, and hopefully it doesn't sound too complicated, because it's really not. It's something that I do every single year, and we have been able to successfully build a homeschool curriculum around a skeleton like this pretty easily. So by taking this and really kind of making a list of what the concepts we want to teach, it does kind of help give you a guide. So let me know in the comments, have you read this book before? What do you think about it? And what are your thoughts on using books like this? Am I totally crazy? I feel like sometimes I need that extra help when I'm creating a curriculum or a plan, or even I would say like unit studies and lap books. These would be great to help you come up with unit studies to do throughout the year. Like maybe you don't want to take a whole lot of time on a specific lesson for science or history or something. You could design a like a unit study around these concepts pretty easily. As long as you have the sources that you want to use and pick out some cool books at the library, and maybe from, you know, different Christian resources. If you're doing, you know, Christian homeschooling like we are, this would be totally simple to do. So hopefully that gives you guys some extra help when the time comes for you guys to start making your curriculum plans. I know that this has been a big help for us, and I use it every single year, and I can't believe that the binding is even still intact on this book, but it is, amazingly. Again, if you guys need this book, I linked it down below in the description box for you, so you can just hit the link and go right to it. That is all I have for this video. I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and happy homeschooling.